everybody on the forums. This is KO Civ, and I am making this video because I got into an argument with Atto, one of the game's main balance designers, about Wood Elf Archer effectiveness. And I said that I didn't like how Wood Elf Archers of every variety have less ammunition than the archers of every other race. And I said it feels especially bad because High Elf Archers actually beat Glade Guard in a missile duel, and needless to say, Atto did not believe me, so to speak. And I had a couple other forum members who are fairly active, like Busa, post a video of High Elf Archers losing pretty decisively to the Glade Guard, and I wanted to figure out why I was getting different results from everybody else, such that even the lead game designer, who has all the data, did not believe me. So this video will show how I got my results and try to explain that right here. So if you just have both archers right click on each other to shoot, the high elves will lose every time. And if you're not looking too closely at why that is, it will just look like it's because, yeah, of course, the Glade Guard have superior missile damage compared to the High Elves, 3 more, and they win because they have more accuracy and are just better. Interesting. So it looks like sometimes the Glade Guard maybe just lose, but Atto said that they only win 9 times out of 10, so maybe that's not an insane anomaly. But that's generally not what happens in my tests. I was actually really not expecting that, but I hope it helps prove my point a little bit. But RNG is a thing, and anything can happen, so we'll do it one more time. So this is the more typical result. You can see that Glade Guard are totally destroying these High Elf Archers here. These guys are wavering on their morale. Glade Guard have tons of morale, half health versus a quarter health, and in general they're just winning the missile duel very decisively. And the AI kind of freaks out when it realizes that it's dying and kind of just like starts doing stupid stuff. But the point is that these guys clearly outtraded them in a missile duel, and that is the most common result if you take both of these units and just have them both shoot arrows at each other. But the reason that the Glade Guard win is not because that they are better archers. It's part of it, for sure, that they're very good archers, but the biggest reason is due to weird AI accidental arrow juking. And what I mean by that is the High Elf Archers have longer range by 10 yards. And so they will start shooting as soon as the Glade Guard are in range. And they will shoot not where the Glade Guard are, but because arrows take a couple seconds to travel max range, they are shooting where they think they are going to be. So if we just do that exact test like before, looking at ranges here and putting it in slow motion once they start firing, they stop to fire because the Glade Guard are in range. The Glade Guard are still moving because they're not quite in range yet, and then they stop. And this whole first volley of arrows hits nothing, because this is where they were going to be if they had kept running, and it looks like a couple arrows hit and they take some damage. But if you look at the damage that these guys take from the first volley from them being standing still, it's substantially more. So just after that first volley where the Wood Elves took almost nothing and the High Elves took almost everything, that gives a big enough advantage in this missile duel that the Glade Guard will outtrade. this is mostly the expected result. If that doesn't happen, however, if they don't get that whole volley for free because of the weird interactions with the AI and with accidental juking of that first volley almost completely from the Wood Elf archers, it actually goes to the High Elf archers almost every time. Now here I'm controlling the High Elves, and you can see that despite the fact that I'm in range to shoot them, I'm not going to do that. The point of this test is for them to just sort of get volleys into each other at the exact same time without the first volleys whiffing on anybody. So the High Elves are going to move just within range of the Wood Elf Glade Guard, and as soon as these guys start to react in any way, I'm going to give them the order to fire, which is right now. You can see even these first couple shots are going to hit their respective targets because these guys only started firing as soon as they were in range, and they stopped moving immediately, and then they proceed to have a missile duel. I've just got Techless here to make sure that both units are getting the same leadership aura. And one thing that I will say is I was wrong. Despite the fact that the first couple tests I did, the High Elves won most of the time in these archery duels. It certainly is very close. The Glade Guard actually tend to win maybe half the time, maybe even a little bit more. When I was doing this test, it was giving me fits because I wasn't getting the same results. The Glade Guard kept, beating them by these very low margins, and I'm like, how did I get my original data? And being wide does help a little bit. There's a lot of RNG involved in terms of who starts shooting at the exact moment, but in general the units are very equal, and the High Elves being a little bit cheaper and also having drastically more ammunition still does not make sense to me. I feel like 24 versus 20 is weird, and that the Glade Guard deserve at the very least to have the same amount of ammunition as High Elf archers and Orc archers and human archers and all the archers, and that the skirmish faction should be rewarded at the very least the same, but preferably the most, for keeping their archers alive, considering that they have no strong foot line to help defend them like a lot of the other races do, where they can just fire over heavily armored units that can hold for a really long time. And so I guess in conclusion, it is not a decisive win like I originally thought for the High Elf archers with light armor. They certainly can win, as shown here. They won pretty decisively. I've had in my tests this last hour while making this video a lot of Glade Guard wins, at least half, and when the High Elf archers do win, this was a lucky accident. Usually it's very marginal. They have a quarter or less of their starting unit when they rout. So to say that they win every time was wrong. Sorry about that, but it's good that I made this video, learned something, and hopefully I can have everybody else learn something too. But the idea that Glade Guard are just these massively superior archers is wrong. Also, it is mostly the weird kind of AI interaction with longer range being this pseudo disadvantage that makes the first shots whiff in a missile duel when they're both going at each other, and they immediately start firing as soon as they're in range. So that hopefully will shed some light on my original conclusion being a bit off, but also how I came to it, and in general the effectiveness of Glade Guard archers versus High Elf archers in this game.